Welcome to the show, and welcome to Glow So Bright. With the creation of these new reports on non-state actors operating within the United States, one component in trying to document them is to have them appear in map symbology. While it can easily be accomplished with traditional conventional military units, this is a challenge in the case of documenting non-state armed groups and their actions. Let's take a look at a conventional military unit, and the very basics of NATO map symbology. We can reference the United States Army, FM 102.2 military symbols, US DoD, MTL, STD, 2525, and NATO AFP-6E. So why use NATO map symbology? With NATO map symbology, we can establish a common language, procedure, and meaning to what is a unit, symbol, activity, installation, or equipment on a map or document, with a visual indicator that can easily convey what it is. So with NATO map symbology, we have four basic colors and their associated shapes for frame symbols. These are called frames, which establishes the affiliation of the unit or symbol. Here we have friendly forces as a blue rectangle, hostile forces as a red diamond, neutral as a green square, and unknown or pending as a yellow clover. With the interior shapes, we have consistent symbols called unit icons or main function symbol. Here we have two shapes over here. The inside shape is the same, while the color and outside shape are different. On the left we have a friendly infantry unit, and on the right we have an enemy infantry unit. With these interior shapes, sometimes they resemble what they represent in the past. For an infantry unit, for example, it resembles two crossed rifles. An artillery unit resembles a cannonball, a maintenance unit resembles a wrench. However, not all unit icons have symbols, so an acronym would be used. Intelligence, for example, goes by the letters MI, or military intelligence, EW goes for electromagnetic warfare, MP for military police, and special forces as SF. Now in some documentation, such as from the Canadian Armed Forces School of Military Intelligence, intelligence would be called INT. But for brevity and consistency, I'll use MI for an intelligence unit, even if the unit is not from a state military intelligence unit. Within a frame symbol, we have additional modifiers, above and below the main function symbol. Sector 1 would indicate about a specific capability of unit. Sector 2, located at the bottom, reflects the mobility capability of the unit, but can also show the size, range, or altitude of the unit's equipment. Above the frame symbol, we have the size of a unit. The smallest size would be that of a fire team comprising of 3 to 5 troops, with only a 0 or an O with a slash through it. We have other symbols above it as well. For example, a solid dot is a squad, 2 a section, 3 a platoon. A single vertical slash would indicate a company, 2 battalion, and an X indicates a brigade. 2X is the division. According to U.S. Army FM 102.2, unit identification is on the right, with a combination of the map size as well as the unit above it. Yet through other NATO standards and certain mapping tools, the unit identifier is on the left, with a senior unit on the right. 569th, Quartermaster Company, 25th Infantry Division, for example. There are other frame symbols out there in NATO map symbology. Installations will have a black box above the frame, such as headquarters, ports, caches, bases, depots, and other facilities. So how about unit activities? They have 4 black boxes inside of the frames. Activities would include actions and events such as explosions, terrorist activity, and mass demonstrations. So we have established that NATO map symbology works well for conventional military units. How about non-conventional units such as irregular militias, armed groups, and other non-state entities? Well, the same rules apply, however we have some caveats. Most of the units that exist would often be a platoon-sized element or less. We can also take a look at modifiers which can help further describe what they are. Here we have a hostile infantry platoon with combat camera capabilities, designated as Atomwaffen. With this, what can we describe? It's an Atomwaffen cell, the size of a platoon, that is filming for propaganda uses. Let's take a look at another example. Here we have a hostile infantry platoon, with limited off-road mobility. The unit designation is assigned Doll Squad. You get the picture. This sort of consideration and documentation is shown in United States Army OPFOR Academy as well, where it depict a hypothetical engagement between Blue 4 and an OPFOR cell, showing in real time how they would behave in an environment, as well as a position map symbols on a real-time map, as well as a unit's depiction of movement. Knowing how to read NATO map symbology is an extremely useful skill, with understanding what happens on a strategic map, often called battle tracking, having awareness on the capabilities of units on a map, their activities, and other information is critical for the prepared citizen to be aware of on what is happening, and develop planning as well as the appropriate countermeasures for hostile adversary actions. When compiling information into a finished intelligence report or an intelligence brief, NATO map symbology can provide a universal language to convey meaning. Yet with the way it is structured, NATO symbology guidelines, while originally intended for battle tracking and mapping of military units, can be adopted for non-state units and non-conventional units as well. When compiling information into a finished intelligence report or an intelligence brief, NATO map symbology can provide a universal language to convey meaning. Yet with the way it is structured, NATO symbology guidelines, while originally intended for battle tracking and mapping of military units, can be adopted for non-state units and non-conventional units as well. If you do want to know more about using NATO map symbology, I highly suggest and recommend you watch these following videos. From the United States Army on FM 102.2, Symbology, from TRADOC G2, Opt for Academy, as well as from S2 Underground on map and battle tracking. These videos are really good, and I highly recommend you watch them. If you do enjoy this video on NATO map symbology for non-conventional units, brought to you by Glow So Bright, give this video a like. If you don't, give it a dislike. Read the video description down below for more information. And if you'd like to financially support the channel, be sure to check out the Ko-fi page as well as Subscribestar. However, the best way to support the channel is to subscribe and share. Doing so helps videos like this defeat slop. Thank you very much for watching.